Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, February 4th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies and a high of 81 degrees in San Antonio today, ahead of a cold front. Public input from virtual meetings for Bexar County residents will identify the most intense needs in the county and guide use of federal programs administered through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Precinct 2 meets tonight at 6:30 p.m. We have everything you need to know to get ready over at expressnews.com. Spurs forward Drew Eubanks is over his bout with coronavirus, but the experience was no fun. Having returned from the NBA's health and safety protocols, he's become a walking public service announcement for others navigating the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Read more about the Spurs game Wednesday night in Jeff McDonald's latest article. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. For years, Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf and his wife Tracy have gone to large guacamole-dependent Super Bowl Sunday watch parties with close friends, but not this year. There couldn't be anything worse, Wolf said, citing local and national health experts who fear the annual 4-hour TV event could be the perfect recipe for spreading COVID-19. Local officials issued such alarms before Memorial Day, July 4th, Thanksgiving, and Christmas with varying success. They have specific data showing that the most common venues for virus infection have not been huge sporting or political events as once feared, but routine family gatherings where people get complacent and ignore guidelines. Find out how the city will enforce violations of the rules and how some local fans are adapting their traditional parties over at expressnews.com. Scores of homeless people who have been living in tents under Interstate 37 near downtown were ousted Wednesday morning as a crew working with the city of San Antonio removed abandoned belongings and cleaned the area. At one point, an outreach worker with Christian Assistance Ministry who was helping connect displaced people with community resources found a 6-week-old baby in a tent. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services took custody of the baby, leaving the 23-year-old mother in tears. The camp downtown was a growing concern for city officials. Since November, it had increased from a few tents to dozens and dozens, stretching for several city blocks, the largest inside Loop 410. Read more about the camp's growth and what's next for the people who live there in Emily Eaton's latest story. 72-year-old Zach Zapata is a survivor of sexual assault and abuse. He was 12th and 7th grade at Catholic school when it happened. His predator was a young, popular Catholic priest named Michael J. O'Sullivan. Today, he's the co-leader of SNAP San Antonio, a local chapter of the Survivors Network of those abused by priests. The Archdiocese has responded to Zapata in one way, legally. He says he's closing in on a settlement with the Archdiocese of San Antonio that will pay for his continued counseling, which he says has done wonders for him. Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller did apologize to victims in 2019. He was contrite and moving. But that's the thing about apologies, Elena Ayala writes. Sometimes one isn't enough to mend a wound and get it to heal. Sometimes one apology can't cover a crime so massive and a deceit so evil. Read Elena Ayala's full column over at expressnews.com. After a grueling national election in 2020, San Antonians are looking ahead to the May city election. A detailed Express News voters guide will be released prior to the election. For now, we have a preview of what's on the ballot and how you can vote in our frequently asked questions page over at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. After months of criticism from fellow Republicans for his response to the coronavirus pandemic, Governor Greg Abbott said this week he is open to rolling back his office's sweeping emergency powers for future disasters. The surge of coronavirus cases after the holidays made January the deadliest month since the pandemic began in Bexar County, according to the Metropolitan Health District records. Cases have slowed down recently, but more people are dying from the holiday surge. Local officials are providing a clearer view of the city's COVID-19 outbreak as the virus continues to spread. Head over to expressnews.com to find the 20 zip codes with the highest number of active coronavirus cases in San Antonio. The vaccine developed by the University of Oxford and AstraZeneca not only protects people from serious illness and death, but also substantially slows the transmission of the virus, according to a new study. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg officially launched his bid for re-election Wednesday, touting strides over the last 2 years towards combating the city's pervasive poverty as well as climate change against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic. A Balcones Heights police officer was critically injured Wednesday after a shootout with at least 2 men at an apartment complex, officials said. A message inadvertently sent to an old email address has set off a legal battle involving a San Antonio publicly traded company and a former executive. Head over to expressnews.com to find out what we know about the dispute between Usio Inc. and its former chief revenue officer. A Texas woman who was arrested by the FBI for her alleged involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot will be allowed to attend a work-related bonding retreat in Mexico later this month, according to court documents obtained by USA Today. A busy hike and bike trailhead on San Antonio's west side may soon be renamed after Dora Jordan, an energetic coordinator and advocate for women's equality who recently died from the coronavirus. A Texas judge on Wednesday temporarily blocked Republican leaders from kicking Planned Parenthood out of Medicaid. The next step will take place in court later this month. A man wanted in connection with a deadly shooting in South Carolina was arrested in the San Antonio area, according to officials. Christopher Pappas resigned from Luby's top post as the company moved forward with its liquidation, according to a filing with the SEC. The filing also outlined a dismal earnings report. A Minneapolis-based software firm has bought 2 San Antonio cybersecurity companies in the last 6 months. Help Systems acquired publicly traded GlobalScape in August and privately held Digital Defense on Wednesday. The Express News editorial board writes, quote, "Plans to address the domestic violence crisis in our midst improved with the new year. This is welcome news since we did not look promising in the fall." Read the latest editorial over at expressnews.com. In his latest column, Michael Taylor introduces you to the woman-oriented robo-advising software called Elavest. For those looking for an easy on-ramp to investing, my sense is this is worth checking out, he writes. The National Guard's deployment of thousands of troops to protect the inauguration of a new president was prompted by the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol by right-wing radicals. But its removal of 12 of its own soldiers from that duty underscored a rising concern. How far has radicalization permeated the armed forces? On our latest episode of the In-Depth podcast, senior reporter Sig Christensen talks about the history of gangs and extremists in the military. Listen to the podcast and read the full story over at expressnews.com. The Robert L.B. Tobin Land Bridge does more than connect 2 sides of Phil Hardberger Park. It also has added to the small slate of public art pieces on the city's north side. We have a handy guide to the public art on the north side in Deborah Martin's latest story. Long known for its proliferation of procedurals such as CSI and NCIS, CBS has lately had success making old new again. Revivals of MacGyver, Magnum PI, and SWAT are all part of the network's primetime lineup. Gene Jacko has more on CBS's primetime lineup over at expressnews.com. Orange, green, and purple cauliflower pack more nutrition and visual zing than the basic white variety. We have a guide to the unique nutritional properties of each variety and how to best cook with them over at expressnews.com. UTSA football added 4 local high school prospects Wednesday to move to 21 overall newcomers, ranking as the highest rated class by Rivals and 247 Sports for Conference USA. Read more about the local high schools making recruiting history over on our website. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Thursday, February 4th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.